In this video, I'm going to be taking the Canon MP-E 65mm for a test run. Hello, my name's Stuart Wood and welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to fix our little issue that we talked about in the previous video. Now, I talked about how I have missed shots because of taking extension tubes on and off of my lenses, and then I feel that it's the right time in my career to do an upgrade to replace all of this equipment. So let's take that to the side. You thought I was going to throw it off the edge then, didn't you? But what I am going to replace all of that with is this. This is the Canon MP-E 65mm f2.8 1 to 5 times macro lens. This is the holy grail of macro lenses. As macro photographers, we strive to get this type of lens. Now, I'll tell you why I chose this over the Venus Optics 2.5 to 5 times lens. And there's a couple of reasons why. And it's not because this is Canon. I am not a Canon fanboy. I just happen to use their gear. And there is our new lens. Ooh, Mrs. You compensating for something? And it's a lot lighter as well than I was expecting. Solidly built. It's made out of metal. We have a tripod collar on here, which, let's be honest, is coming off because I never use them. It's also rattly for some reason. Don't know why. But anyway, that's the configuration I will use it in because, as you know, I'm not an average fan of tripods. So there's 3 reasons why I chose this over the other lens, which is the Venus Optics lens. First of all, it goes from 1 times to 5 times rather than 2.5 times to 5 times, which means combined with my 100mm lens, between these 2 lenses I can go from infinity to 5 times macro with just 2 lenses. And that is a fantastic range to get with just 2 lenses. The second reason why I've gone with this one is it has an electronic aperture. Now, some people might disagree with this, but I prefer that because if I'm shooting at f16, the lens, when I'm focusing, is at 2.8, letting more light in, which means I can focus a lot easier. On the Venus Optics one, it's manual, which means you have to set your f-stop to whatever f-stop you want, and that cuts down on light, which makes it very hard to focus. So any little help helps. And the third option, which is the biggest one where I've stopped away from Venus Optics at the moment, is it has no filter thread on the front, which means I can't get my twin macro flash onto it. They do their own version of the twin macro flash, so if I did want to go with that lens, I would have to get the lens and the flash at the same time. I'm not doing that. When we first started the channel, we concentrated on spiders. Then last year we had mantises. I think this year should be the year of the ant. We're going to photograph a lot of ants this year. Let's do all the boring stuff out the way. Let's get this lens onto our Canon. Let's get the flash on there and let's do some test shoots to see what we think of this lens. So I have Christine now on this flower. A background. This is my premium background texture. They're a lot more solid and more durable than the normal textures, but I'm not 100% happy with the outcome at the moment, so that's why I've not put them up for sale. Plus they cost a lot of money. I mean, this small set, which is the A6 set, would cost upwards of £75 plus shipping. We'll see if they come for sale, we'll see. But anyway, I have the Canon MP-E 65mm now on my EOS R. I have this flash diffuser setup. I'm not going to talk about this setup in this video. However, in the next video, I will show you this setup and why I like it so much. It's just brilliant. And if I give you a preview, if you got your flash on here, shining down through the diffuser, when you go to 5 times macro, your lighting has changed because your light is still here, but your lens is all the way over here. This lighting, the way I've got this set up is I can use any lens with any magnification and the lighting stays consistent, which is why I love it so much. And I will show you that and how to do it in the next video. So I'm going to work from 1x magnification all the way up to 5x magnification on this jumping spider. This spider is roughly the same size as our native jumping spider. She is probably 5 times smaller than Susan, which is what we normally use. So this is going to be a really good test for this lens. Let's get started. So my settings, I'm going to go for f7.1 to start with. I haven't run my f-stop tests on this lens yet. We're literally out of the box here. So I'm going to go ISO 100 and 1/200th of a second. That's my standard settings I would use on the other lens. So we're going to go with that to start with and see how it performs. Beautiful. Look at that. That is out of camera. I haven't edited it. That's 1:1. Let's go to 2:1. We'll take the same picture again, so long as she doesn't move. Beautiful. You can see there how I was able to go from 1x to 2x without needing to use extension tubes or anything like that, which is fantastic. This lens is a hard lens to use. I've seen a lot of people where they've gone and they want to get into macro photography. They bought this lens. It's not the lens for beginners, it's the lens that you end up with at the end of your journey. So let's go to 3x magnification. So she's backed into the flare a little bit. She's starting to get a little bit scared. So as expected, the jumping spider is named after my wife because she's a pain in the arse, wouldn't play ball. She got stressed out too much. So I'll put her back into her enclosure. And we're going back to Susan. She's a bigger spider. So what we're going to do is going to do headshots of her. I'm going to do, again, from 1 to 5x macro. So Susan, she is an older jumping spider and is a more professional model. So she will do what I tell her to. She's not bothered. She's not moving. She'll just sit there. The downside of that is it means she's actually coming to the end of her life. She's stopped climbing in her enclosure. She just sits at the bottom there, which means I think in the few months coming, we're going to lose Susan. So we'll do this photo shoot now. Okay, so 1x. Yeah, she's sitting there quite happily. So again, because I've zoomed in now to 2x macro, I have to change up my power on my flash. I'm at 1/16 now. Let's go to 4x. This is going to be hard. Okay. And now 5x. We're getting into the realm of extreme macro now. Something that really doesn't work handheld, but we'll give it a go. And I have to back off a lot now. So yeah, that is an experience to be had. This lens is phenomenal. Again, you lose light when you go from 1 to 5x, you lose working distance, and conveniently on the side of the lens it does tell you the working distance as well, which is nice. So far I'm very impressed with this lens, as you can tell, and I think it's a match made in heaven. Canon 100mm 1:1 macro, Canon MP-E 65mm 1 to 5x macro. I can go from infinity to 5x with just 2 lenses. I can literally photograph any insect that I wish to. The more zoomed in you get, the harder it gets. After 3x, it's very, very hard. So I can understand why there's a tripod collar with this lens. I'm not going to use tripod, so that ain't happening. What is going to happen though is you're going to be seeing a lot more focus stacking on this channel, because to get the depth of field where you would want it, you are going to have to do some focus stacking. So we are going to be seeing a lot of focus stacking. But so far, I love that lens. So Susan here, again, performed perfectly. Christine, oh, forget it. As she gets older, we'll be able to photograph her. But that is the Canon MP-E 65mm f2.8 1 to 5x macro lens. That is my first impression. I absolutely love it. I'm going to do a complete review on this, but I'm going to leave it till probably the end of summer. I want to get some really good time in using this lens before I do a review. So what did you think of this lens? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Is it on your wish list? It's been on my wish list for 4 years, so I think it's well worth the investment. But from me and from Susan, I want to thank you for getting to the end of this first impressions video, and I'll see you on the next video. In this video, I'm going to be taking the Canon MP-E 65mm 1:1. In the last video, I talked about knowing when it's time to upgrade your equipment. Here is all the equipment that I use to verify. Let's do that again. This is the Canon. I can read it because I'll do B-roll, can't I? So I'll just read it. This is the Canon MP-E 6. Bouncing off on it in my microphone. So I'm going to unbox this quickly because I don't really want to do another. And I'm going to talk. Fuck's